And we can't outsource this problem to anybody else. We have to do it ourselves.
Okay, well, we'll get into it this morning. Joining us also is Peter Warutere, who is a former member of the County Assembly for Roysambu Ward. Peter, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I am good and sad at the same time.
Okay.
Today, or 2 weeks, exactly, I think 10 days, Nairobians were given another opportunity to get 60 days of more garbage, 60 days of Nairobi without water, 60 days of congestion, 60 days where workers are going for months without pay, 60 days for more corruption, 60 days for incompetencies. That indeed is what we got from Raila Odinga and William Ruto.
Oh, okay, I guess that sums up as to why you're not really doing too well this morning. Mm-hmm. We're also going to be joined in a short while by Bosco Mutegi Kura, who is a political analyst and governance expert. He joins us in a short while, but the conversation continues before he gets here. And before we get into it, there's a proverb today that I think you're going to enjoy interpreting. Dennis will tell you where that's from and what it is.
Well, today we are going up north. We are facing north. And in facing north, we are getting to a country with the ancient civilization where they say they developed one of the earliest writing systems. They were very intelligent folk. We're talking about Egypt. And our proverb from Egypt is a very, very simple one. Trust in God, but tie your camel. Trust in God, but tie your camel. How would you interpret that? We'll start with you, Cyprian.
I like that proverb a lot because
I thought so.
Because trust God, but don't leave your money in the hands of thieves in Nairobi and in the hands of thieves in Kenya. And I think it is a requirement that we should always only trust people who are trustworthy with our resources, with our institutions, with our officers. And because if we don't do that, then you actually give the thief the key to your vault. And he is going to do what thieves do, which is to go away with them. And that is the thing about the paradox about Kenyans, that they love to elect thieves. They love to elect criminals. They do. They are actually in love. They are in love with these types of people. Anybody who has stolen 100 million, they say this one is ready to become a member of parliament. If you steal about 500 million going to a billion, this one is ripe for the governorship or for the presidency. So the more you steal, Kenyans start to think that now you are ripe, you are ready for public office. That's when you now become Jamba. That's when you become somebody who is worth being trusted with officers, so that you can be able to steal more. Mm-hmm. And that is actually the tragedy that we found ourselves in. Mm. That is my reading of the proverb. Mm.
Wow! So in this case, the camel is who? And who is God in this case?
Public officers. Public officers.
Ngamia ni nani? Yeah. How would you interpret that?
I think Cyprian is right. What we are basically being told is that we trust in God. Of course, He is omnipresent. But again, we have to checkmate our leaders of those people we put authority. So if you put a bad leader and you don't put checking mechanisms, then of course the leader is going to go astray. Mm-hmm. And so the country will. So for us, we have a responsibility as citizens to ensure that the leaders that we elect are upright. And indeed, if they're not, then we have mechanisms whereby we can really ensure that they are within the path. They are within the path of efficiencies. We put limitations to all the gaps that can get them to probably going astray in terms of what they give to wananchi. So for me, I think that is where we are. That is the gap that most of us probably refuse to see. And like for me, I am glad I lost my seat where I had served for 2 terms because I listened to Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. He told me, and he told many of us, that his number 2 was not the right person. I listened to him, and I'm sad that as much as I lost my seat today, my position has been vindicated by the fact, like, what is going on within this country. Massive corruption, inefficiencies is what Uhuru Kenyatta told us. The only maybe problem that he did was like he didn't do it right in time to give us the direction that we probably should have taken.
Okay.
Number 2, we have a country where a student who couldn't even finish university got to the mantle, got to the driving seat, and what we get out of that, this student, is even worse than what we got when Governor Sonko was. So for us, I think the checkmate that going forward that we need to do is to ensure that we just don't elect leaders for the sake of electing people. Let's not even just get. I take pride in what basically goes on in Nyanza and bits of Western. That long before I even went to school, James Orengo was put in service. Many years later, you can see what is done. Consistency of purpose. He has really been there for the country, for the people, and we make that part of the nation has made strides.
Okay.
But when you come to a place in Mount Kenya, that's a story that I would want also to talk about.
Let's see. Let's look into Nairobi for now and see what the issue is, because there's a bone of contention, obviously, and there are very, very many vested interests here. It's no question about the importance that the city plays as the capital of the country, both commercial and government administration.
Yes.
So that it needs to be of pristine condition, but it also needs to be led by a pristine governance. So in order for us to say, okay, there needs to be a solution, well, let's look at what some of the issues are, shall we? People have complained. We talk about the city being dirty. We talk about it not being lit up. There are government officials who in the last couple of days have said the insecurity in the city way too high, that the city is not lit up, there's a problem. The goons have come back into the city, it's crazy. We can't handle garbage in the city. We cannot handle those who would want to sell in the city, hawkers. But beyond that, in terms of the revenue collected in the city every day, there's no reason why the city is not self-sustainable and should not be able to develop. Does that sound right about Cyprian?
Completely. Can I try and now reduce the pointers that you've mentioned to just 2 things?
Please.
Nairobi's problem is a leadership problem and a governance problem. But the governance problem comes from the failure of leadership. And it is because Nairobi suffers from the problem of executive overreach, meaning that State House has a direct vested interest in who becomes the governor of Nairobi and the resources of Nairobi, how they are allocated and spent. Because
Why?
Nairobi is a very lucrative place. Last year alone, Nairobi collected more than 21 billion of own source revenue. And they were allocated more than 22 billion from the share of the national revenue. So you can see that we are talking about big monies. And because of that, there is an entrenched interest to ensure that the control of these resources is in favor of the people in power. So there is executive overreach, and which played itself out very clearly this time round. So let us make it clear to the people of Nairobi that we have a leadership problem in Nairobi. The people we have been making governors in Nairobi are not worth it. they are not able to govern and manage Nairobi for Nairobians. And I want to conclude by saying this. We know in governance, we say that you either pay for your interests or you pay with your interests. There are no two ways about governance. In governance, you either pay for the interests, and that's what Warutere has listed. These are the people's interests. Water, sanitation, garbage collection, a clean city, a safe city, a lead city, where public transport moves, where the cost of doing business is low. That is what you call the people's interests. So you either pay for these interests or you pay with them. And currently,
Paying with
Warutere will confirm that Nairobians are paying with their interests, not for their interests. So that is what we call double jeopardy, because you pay expensive rates and expensive levies and everything that you pay for, but you don't get anything in return. Instead, you suffer your security, you suffer bad roads, drainage is not happening, garbage is not being collected, and that is currently the situation in Nairobi because of failed leadership. So Sakaja basically handed over the county government. After he got it, he handed it over to those who put him in that position. And for him to survive, he has also to pay to the ODM party. So Nairobians generate revenue, and that revenue goes to secure Sakaja's existence in office. So it's very clear what the problem is.
Cyprian, you almost make it seem as though, I remember, I mean, not even just growing up, but even now we play the game of Monopoly, where you roll a dice, and then you can claim property. It's a game, but you can claim property, and then you can, have control of the water.
Yes,
exactly. the little toy we saw on the board.
Exactly.
You can claim control of the water. You can have a few pets here and there, and then if I roll the dice and it lands on your property, I can buy you out with the money that I have. You make Nairobi seem like it's a monopoly board, and that they're vested parties, and that they're people who can just do what they want when they want by virtue of the fact that they have the money.
Exactly. And they control. Because once they have the money, they access control. And once they access control, they get everything they want. And the Nairobians miss everything that they pay for, because the money they have already paid is now controlled by very few hands and cartels. So Warutere has worked in the has been an MCA here, and they will tell you what exactly happens, how the county assembly is controlled, how they are told who to vote for, who to vote against, how to allocate resources. Nairobi is a monopoly, really. That is where cartels have completely controlled this place, and those cartels, unfortunately, are in power.
So what will you tell us then? Is this what happened?
Yeah, exactly. I think Cyprian has captured it quite right. And one thing that we must all agree is like 60% of the GDP of this country comes from Nairobi. So what happens in Nairobi is critical. How I wish going forward would get a CEO, a competent person to run the city. Optimally, if we were to address the leakages that are in the Nairobi, we can get more than 35 billion. We can collect more than 35 billion in the city alone.
Per what?
Own source revenue.
Own source revenue, 35 billion, upwards of 35 billion. Adding to what probably we get from the exchequer, we will be able to run our budget and even get excess to give to other counties. However, because of the issue of paying the piper, as Cyprian rightfully puts it, Nairobi has a problem. Nairobi is in a bondage whereby nothing works without supervision from the big brother. The interest of the big brother supersedes everything. Nobody sees Nairobi as it's supposed to be. Nobody thinks about Nairobians. We wake up early, we are resilient people, Kenya's all, and many times you realize I woke up around 5. I am imagining you even woke up earlier. To get back again past 9 o'clock. Don't you think you deserve better than what we are getting? Sakaja is one man who came with many promises of a beautiful city. He talked of a green city. He had a 6-point plan that never worked. I think the incompetence of Sakaja didn't start from Nairobi. This is a student who was called to do actually a science and who couldn't even finish university. How I miss the time we were with Governor Sonko. As much he had his shortcomings, we had systems that were working. Sonko rescued people and still does to this day. I worked under Governor Kidero, a CEO who tried to make things work as much as he wasn't within the framework of the administration, because he was from a different party from what the leading party was. He tried and made things work. I think at the start of things, we were correcting about 14 billion then. And to this day, I think last year we corrected 21, which is about 10 years later. That's way too true. What is happening? We have a workforce that is not motivated. We have a workforce that has been shown that the best way is to still keep what you can, because the big brother doesn't care. He's stealing much more. So for me, I think we have to look into the way things work. There is no efficiency in this big city. Sakaja does not come to office. Sakaja works from Shakahola, a private office in Riverside.
Wait.
Where
Shakahola is in Kilifi County.
No, another one. We have a Chakahola in
Riverside Drive.
Riverside Drive. This guy wakes up, goes there. He has two very useless fellows whom he trusts to run the city. And I think one of the issues the MCs raised was that he had to sack the chief. He has one gentleman we served with last time who is grossly incompetent, who is so corrupt. But he inherited this from Buddy. Number two,
inherited what from Buddy? General Buddy is who you're talking about now?
Two people.
Okay.
One is called Usman, and the other chief of staff is a young man who does not even know what he stands for or what needs to be done in Nairobi. You know, even if you have an incompetent governor, when you have systems that can work, when you have competent people who are supposed to be surrounding the governor, then things certainly would move on. But when you are incompetent and you have people who are incompetent also serving with you, then Nairobi will be in a dark lamchako, a city of garbage, a city that will never work. Lastly, as I finish, you know, Nairobi is a gateway to the city, and we are losing
to the country,
rather, and we are losing so much to our neighborhood, neighboring countries. Tanzania, I was in Dar es Salaam the other day. You can see systems that work. I was in Kigali. We have the cities, the smaller cities, have really worked so well. We because of the leadership that we have in this country, Nairobi now is not what we envisioned that it will be. How I pray that we can go back. We miss the Kibaki moment when we had systems that were working, when we had efficiency at its best, and the GDP then was quite high. I've said 60% of the GDP of this country comes from the city. So when we get it wrong, or we spread the madness to other counties, sadly, that is the situation we are in.
I mean, Cyprian, let me get back to the question of executive overreach, because you raised it, and we look at, and there's something also you mentioned, the person that the government will want, obviously, will be in place. Let's look at the last election. So Sakaja won the election with the UDA Kenya Kwanza with 699,000 votes plus. The closest was Polycarp Igathe with 573,000. So you look at now, Sakaja was voted by a majority of Nairobians. And when we look at the question of why then Nairobi is a central focus, so many things. One, the economic weight, like you raised, that Nairobi carries. Nairobi contributes about 20-25% of Kenya's GDP. So whoever then governs Nairobi essentially ends up controlling a massive budget. So that must have an interest from the executive, from the state. The symbolism of the power withheld within Nairobi as a capital, obviously, is the center of government, center of business, and so many other things. The people said Nairobi is also an ethnic melting pot, because unlike other counties where governors are elected by the tribes, in Nairobi you have all these different tribes, and so when you look at these projections, does it then matter who runs Nairobi? Because if this is what you get into office, this is what you're handling. Does it then matter whether it's Akaja, whether it's somebody else? Because at the end of the day, the executive will obviously have a hand in what happens in the city.
No. That is what we now have to correct, and I think that is why we are here this morning. Because the only person who understood how devolution works was Professor Kivutha Kibwana. Why did he understand? Because he was the maker of the Constitution. If you do not understand something, abuse is guaranteed. That's what we know in management. That if you do not know the purpose for why this thing was established, abuse is inevitable. And that is the abuse that we have seen across the 47 counties. Because nearly all the governors were not there when we were looking for the Constitution. So they don't know why devolution was created in the Constitution. In fact, majority of them were against the making of a new Constitution in Kenya. That is the fact. So what did Kibwana understand? Kibwana understood that if you do not locate the power with the people of Makueni in the village committees, in the ward committees, in the sub-county committees, then bring that power to the county assembly, you can never deal with the cartels. You are unable to overcome those cartels. So the first thing that Kibwana did was to establish the village councils, and within the councils, the committees. Then he went to the wards. Then he came to the sub-counties. By the time the MCAs were discovering that the power is not with them, but is with the people, they were shocked, because they realized that they were dealing not with the governor, but with the people. The people were recalling them to the village. If you don't do the same thing in Nairobi, you can never overcome the executive overreach. So what are you going to do in Nairobi? So what we want to do in Nairobi is that we are starting with the residents' associations. We have to start with the residents' associations, who then, like if you take Langata, South Sea, under the residents' associations there, and you go to the other wards, the 5 wards within Langata, you bring all of them together, and they form the sub-county council, the People's Council, which has the ward committees, and then the residents' associations. If you don't locate the power there, the power is going to be located above the county government. You cannot deal with cartels if you do not have power located with the people. And that's the formula which has to be used to deal with the problem of Nairobi. And how do we propose that you deal with this problem? Last week on Thursday, as Kenya Bora Twitakayo, we called for a major press conference at Tufungamano. And we recommended to the people of Nairobi that your solution is to dissolve the county government of Nairobi by collecting 10% of the signatures of the registered voters. And I wanted to correct something about majority of the people of Nairobi voted for Sakaja. Sakaja got 600,000 votes. Nairobi has 2.4 million registered votes. 573 voted for Igabe. When you add those two, they make 1.2 million. Nairobians, only 50-something% voted in the vote. If you look at those who did not turn out to vote and those who voted for Polycarp Igathe, you will see that the sea of Nairobians did not vote for Sakaja. And that's the tragedy and we'll come to that number. But let me conclude by saying this. The way forward now to salvage this city from the rot and from the executive overreach and the political party control, where MCAs are ordered not to perform their constitutional duty. Warutera, you can imagine that MCAs are called by the party leader and told not to perform their constitutional duty. That is the only way to solve this problem and the conundrum is that the people of Nairobi have to come together in the 17 constituencies, collect signatures, dissolve this county government, which means that both the MCAs and the governor go home, so that after 90 days, we elect a new government and a new MCAs who actually know their work according to the constitution, not those who are called and ordered not to impeach a governor who they have evidence as misgoverned, is not delivering services. Nairobi is under garbage. Nairobi is not lit. Nairobi is insecure. And then you are told, don't impeach him, give him 60 days to go. When I was asking Warutere, Okari, if you give somebody the work of a watchman in your home, and then in the morning at 5 a.m., you find him with your goods. He has stolen your goods. What do you do with him? Do you tell him, enda urekebishe, tuone vile utabadilisha hii kazi after 2 weeks? Is that what you do? You don't do that. That gentleman goes to jail, goes to prison, and then he goes to court. And then he is locked in prison for theft by servant. That's what the law provides for. So this logic that the Honorable Raila Odinga and William Ruto have demonstrated is actually shocking. And therefore, Kari, to answer you in conclusion, you asked a very direct question. What then is to be done for Nairobi, looking at the control that Nairobi has of massive resources, but also the strategic location for the country? You have to dissolve this county government. Wacha wananchi wafanye uchaguzi mpya after 90 days. They elect MCAs who know their work. They elect a governor who knows his work. And MCAs and a governor who knows that he does not serve Raila and William Ruto, but he serves 5.6 million Nairobians. That's the kind of governor and MCAs who need to be in office. These ones who are there for their pockets and for their, bribes and whatever they are going to be given, which is 1%, then 90% is stolen and taken away. That is my recommendation.
The people of Nairobi, to an extent, and I'm going to pick off something that Bwana Warutere said, is that, you said something to the effect that call Mbuvi Sonko, whatever you wanted to call him, but there was something that was happening. It's interesting because we have some comments here that say something to that effect, that the city was clean.
Yeah, it was clean at least.
People got jobs.
Yes.
People had work to do. Yes. They would every now and then be found along the trenches, digging up, cleaning, and things like that. If we're going to compare to the number of votes, Sonko got almost 800,000 votes in Nairobi. But I'm not pointing to the person, I'm pointing to the thing that Nairobians are asking for. It's not too difficult in terms of the request. And beyond people's desire, what the law says in terms of what is actually supposed to happen. Because I don't imagine that what is being required for the city is something so difficult. Keep it clean, keep it safe, keep it operational, and then, for goodness sake, let us see what is happening with the money. You said that it is possible to get 35 billion shillings annually from own source revenue in Nairobi. Today, from the numbers that Cyprian has shared, we got 21 billion last year. That's
right.
about 16 billion shillings shy.
Yes.
Where would you imagine that this extra 16 billion shillings goes to get some of these things done? There are estates in Nairobi for the last 20 years have not gotten running water in their taps.
Yes.
We are being told that the eastern part of the city, you cannot dig boreholes anymore.
That's right.
Because they've all, the water table has sunk so low because of all the boreholes that are being dug, and we cannot pipe water in the eastern part of the city. Take your pick, across board. And then moving on to this side, when you go south, again, the water problem is an issue. The garbage, there are heaps, and when you look at them closer, you would think that they were anthills, but they are years and years of compacted garbage. This is a reality. This is happening in the city. So all of these things should be happening, but 16 billion shillings is out the window. I wish you could ask this to the county government directly, but it's good that you're here as a former MCA, because what conversations normally take place, or do the people in the governance not see?
As Cyprian actually rightfully was able to put it, like there are so many overriding interests within the city.
Okay.
Number one, we've had stories of what is happening in Dubai, larger cities, of money being stolen, siphoned, to go into other people's pocket. Sad that we got a governor who is a menace. In fact, how I wish and how I pray that we get a CEO. We get competent leaders in terms of MCAs. I think we need to go back into the law and see if we could get MCAs who are graduates. Because I think when you have the freedom of education, when your mind is free, when you are an elite, I think there are things that you can't do. But again, when you have the calibers of some people I don't want to mention as members of parliament, as members of country assembly, you are asked standard 4 dropout, for heaven's sake, and you are the person electing or even advising the presidency, you are a dropout of the magnitude of an MC that I know, and you are the advisor to the governor. That to us is an insult to Nairobians. I think gone are the days that we just stood there, looked at things, and without hope, without even a sense of purpose, just sat there and wished that we were not even born. Because what happens in this city is such an insult that at times I wake up, I feel so bad when the writing systems cannot work. I live in Thika Road, and we get water, I think 1 in 2 weeks. The taps are dry. We have money that is going to the wrong priorities. We have chief officers, the planning department that is 100% collapsed. Nothing works in City Hall.
So can I ask this question? Because we're saying that nothing works. In order for us to find a solution,
Yes.
then you often need to look into what is wrong. And I think we've established that.
Yes.
But then perhaps, is it possible, Cyprian, that the issue is that Nairobi is just too big, number one? Or is it that we should not be looking at a county governance structure for a capital? Because the devolution system kind of mimics a federal system. It kind of mimics a federal system in this sense, that you have governors and their deputies over a smaller geographical area, and that you then deliver to it an administrative capital. The examples that we have, the United States, for example, we have Nigeria, but the capital cities do not have a governor. The capital cities are not even cities, they are areas. Washington, D.C., Abuja, for example, don't have governors, but they still have the input of the central government with a mayor of sorts who will then handle the different device that the city is, the different areas that the city is divvied up into. Is it possible? Is it possible?
That's before he
allow me to finish asking the question.
Okay.
Is it possible that it is too big an administrative area? Are the budgets, I'm almost laughing as I ask the question, are the budgets too big for somebody to handle? Or should we be looking at dividing up the administrative responsibility of this big area?
Allow me, before Cyprian answers that, I also want to throw this to him. how is it that the private sector works so efficiently that the public sector can't pick from the private sector? Number two, how is it that Equity Bank, a small microfinance that started in the rural areas in Muranga, works so efficiently, it has overtaken all other banks, and it is working well with a huge customer base? Equity works well. Cyprian, as you answer that, tell us how probably we need to work to navigate and work on the issue of this city so that the city can be green again, so that the city can still work. I've worked in the city, and I know for sure, given the right structures, given the right people, Nairobi can work again.
Let me say that there are two things that both Ndu and yourself, Honorable Warutere, have raised. And my responses are going to be very, very specific so that we can expand this conversation. First of all, 50 billion shillings is too little in terms of what you need to do to turn this city around. Some of you know that I am running for the governorship in 2027.
Indeed.
And 50 billion is too little if you want to turn around Nairobi. So what is the response to this? First of all, we need to increase our revenue base, as Warutere has suggested. That money is there. It is being siphoned into people's private accounts. Warutere can confirm, because he operates in this city, that our governor is actually building around 7 to 8 blocks across this city, from Kahawa West to the southern part of...
Blocks of what?
Of flats.
Oh.
You know?
Okay.
Affordable
housing?
Oh, and none of this is cheap. What I'm saying is that Nairobi needs above 200 billion shillings a year to really turn things around. And that money is available, both from the national share of revenue and also our own source, OSR, our own source revenue. So that answers your first question, that what we currently have is so little if we are going to provide services to the 17 constituencies and the 85 wards.
Sure, if you want to compare, and I'm sorry to interject, because it's good that we give examples. Because again, if we are mimicking, look at the state of California. The economy of California is bigger than that of Kenya.
No, California is the 8th largest economy in the world.
So this is what we are talking about here.
So we understand that. So we are actually saying that we have very little money for the things that we need to be doing. But even with the 50 billion shillings a year that is available, the things that we can do with it, if we wanted to change Nairobi, are many. So I'm going to answer the two questions this way. First of all, the model of the United States of America, the model of Abuja, may not work in Kenya because the framers of the Constitution actually answered that question in Article 6 of this Constitution, that Kenya shall have 2 levels of government that are interconnected and interrelated. None of them shall be completely independent of the other. So interdependence is the principle that you find in Article 6 of our Constitution. Why did we recommend that Nairobi gets a directly elected governor? Is because the national government tends to use Nairobi as a cash cow, which has continued.
Even with the Constitution.
Even with the Constitution. Why? Because of the answer I gave to Okari. That Nairobians do not control this city. They don't control the city. Nairobians are observers. They are spectators in the city. That problem needs to be solved, and I have already provided the solution to it. We need, and the County Governments Act 2012 has already provided the framework for that, that every ward needs to establish its own committee and its own council, elected people from all the residents' associations, all coming together to form the ward committee so that they direct the MCA in terms of what their priorities are in budgeting. So that's the answer to that question that Ndu you asked. Let's go to the second question, which is, I think, extremely important as regards Nairobi. We have said that if the problem is that the governor is so central and is not in touch with the service delivery in the ward level, then Nairobi can be split into 5 or 6 boroughs, as we have called them. And so the boroughs are managed by managers, all of them who report to the governor.
Which Governor Sakaja has said repeatedly that he wants to do.
No. I mean, the reason that he is not coming through with it is because he knows that he is going to lose control of all this money that is available across. And the service delivery will happen. And that is another problem that we can talk about. Because when you are the governor and you keep saying that I want to do, just do it the following morning. You do it. Just do it. Present it. Let the MCS give you the act of the assembly that is needed. Roll out the boroughs. Appoint the managers. Start delivering service delivery. Why is it not happening? Is because that is not his intention. His intention is to do politics with it, while he knows that he does not want the money to go to service delivery, because money that goes to service delivery, you are unable to steal it.
Right.
So keep it central, steal it, then keep giving the promise. So I think we need to be very clear that the start of the solution is to dissolve this county government, and we are going to do consultation across the 17 constituencies. We are going to have public barassas from next week. We want to reach out and ask the people, is the way forward dissolving Nairobi county government all the way down to the MCS, so that we elect, after 90 days, men and women who understand what the Constitution in Chapter 11 requires of them as governor and as MCA. Article 192, which is the one which provides for the dissolution or the suspension of the county government, is very clear. That you need to collect signatures, present a petition before the president. The president forms a commission. The commission then recommends whether dissolution is viable or is the way to go. And then the president suspends the assembly, the county government, in conjunction with the Senate. Senate can, after 90 days, decide whether to reinstate or to go for elections. Our recommendation is that we go for elections. If Senate gives us those 90 days, then we can be able to do our forensic audit. Because we want to show, and this is very important, Okari, Nairobi currently owes 118 billion shillings in terms of pending bills. And the problem with that, Ndu, 118.
18.
Yes.
The problem with that is that the control of budget does not allow you to contract somebody under the Procurement Act if you don't have the money. So where has this come from? Because every year, what we budget for is what we pay for. So where has this happened? How have we accumulated 118 billion shillings? What does that mean? Nairobi is insolvent. And that's what I want us to tell with Warutero. I want us to tell Nairobians that Nairobi is insolvent. You have to stop all operations for 3 years to pay people, because 118 billion shillings, that's 3 times the annual budget of Nairobi. Where did that money go to? I know where it went to. But
because
we
that's
can
6
only
years of the budget.
Yes.
That's 6 years of Nairobi's
own source revenue.
own source revenue.
Own source revenue. And we know where that money goes to. So what the governor does currently, and this is criminal, really, because there are people who have supplied works, supplied goods, and supplied services. Contractors, tenders, and people who bid and did work. They have not been paid because the governor I am told, and Water can confirm because he knows this a little better, requires you to pay a percentage as a bribe upfront
20%.
before you are actually paid
Yes.
for the works you did. So a lot of families in Nairobi are actually having their family members auctioned. People's businesses have been closed down. Unemployment that has been caused by the county government of Nairobi is untold. And we are having people who are sick. Some have died
Many.
because banks have pulled their vehicles, have auctioned their properties because the county government does not pay. But where does the money go to? The county government is very easy to pay lawyers, quote unquote lawyers.
Yes.
12 billion
Yes.
paid to lawyers because the total bill for lawyers was probably 1 billion. The other 11 billion goes to the private pockets of people at Nairobi. So the criminality that we are talking about here is so humongous that we cannot wait until 2027. But it is the people of Nairobi who have to decide. Our recommendation is very clear that if you want to salvage Nairobi from insolvency, and if you want service delivery to happen, you simply have to do the basics, which are in Article 192.
In fact, I'm so glad that we still have good people like Cyprian who could be of good service to this country. And I'm glad that you said you're good to learn. I think we need to sit and look into things. And as he puts it, I think now we need to go back, to go down again to Ajiko. And you are doing a good job. Let's call the governor, the whole structures. For once, I agree that we must get it right.
So if you're going back to Wanjiko,
Yes.
based on what Cyprian has raised, the idea and the template from Makueni that is given, that the power then, MCAs realize the power is not really with them. The power is with the people.
Yes.
That structure, and he proposes that structure to work in Nairobi.
Yeah.
So that the power then is with Wanjiko, like you're saying. If it's recalling, then they have the power to recall very quickly because of time. I remember during the campaigns, one of the pledges Sakaja was making, which was one of the key issues that MCAs have raised in his impeachment here, was failure to fully fulfill his campaign promises and poor governance. And they've accused Sakaja of not keeping his campaign pledges and lacking responsiveness. Now, Sakaja, in his manifesto, and I'm reading it here, he had said, under a City of Order title, and he said, decentralized governance into 5 administrative boroughs, like what Cyprian is saying. So you've got Central, East, West, North, South, with dedicated city managers. That is what Sakaja pledged and proposed. Is that happening?
Yesterday, sadly, yesterday you saw Sakaja actually going with goons. You know this.
Sorry?
Wait.
Sakaja operates with
So,
goons. The chief
so
goon.
these things are not happening. So
Nothing.
we don't have dedicated. We don't have these 5 administrative boroughs.
Nothing.
We don't have dedicated city managers.
Nothing. You see, Sakaja is one person who sits in that office, directs goons to patrol this, and he even gives them, it's in the public knowledge that when we had the Gen Zs going around, he was the chief goon who
Allegedly.
brought people. Yes.
Allegedly.
Well, they were shouting his name.
Yeah.
Evidence that he's the one
It's
who
a Malo
really hired
Lipo.
them.
There's no way, like people talked about him, and as I always say, this is what we're ground. Tunasikizaga ground. You will know. When you hear like the planning was done and we know where the planning was done, instead of him working to fix and to also live up to his pledges, I saw him yesterday going with goons, policing the city. For what? When we have a
Those
bad
were not
traffic,
When we have a
officials?
problem.
no, they're just part of his goons.
Okay, let's take a break. We're going to come back and continue with this conversation in the hour because Warutera says that, if you actually wanted to fix the city, we would actually see it fixed. Cyprian says Nairobi is in the red, and the things that you say you want to do, you wake up and do them in the morning.
Yeah.
Don't tell us about your plans moving forward, and this is what we are going to do. Do it now, and do it now. The conversation around the city of Nairobi continues after 8, right here in the Situation Room. Bosco joins us after 8. It's 8:01. Don't go away.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.